William Lloyd Garrison was a brilliant man, famous for his speeches and writings against slavery. He is most famous for starting his anti-slavery newspaper, The Liberator, and helping to found the Anti-Slavery Society. He advocated for immediate emancipation of all slaves, as well as women's suffrage. His actions inspired many others to become radical abolitionists, and through the mighty work of his pen, he helped to finally end slavery. Garrison grew from humble beginnings. His father deserted the family when he was only 3 years old as a result of the Embargo Act of 1807, when he lost his job. Garrison was expected to earn money for the family in the latter part of his childhood, selling candy and delivering wood. Garrison's mother supported him when he was young and taught him everything she knew, which is where he learned to write. His mother died when he was 18, and he then began an apprenticeship at the Newbury Herald, where he learned many skills he would later use for the Liberator.
All right, Lloyd, take these into town for me, will you?
Sure.
Garrison then joined the American Colonization Society, which helped free blacks return to Africa and form a colony now known as the country of Liberia. However, many freed slaves had been born in America and knew nothing of Africa. Therefore, it was not the solution that Garrison was looking for. In fact, by sending them away, it reduced the number of free blacks and so helped to keep the institution of slavery, which Garrison opposed. Many members of the American Colonization Society became disillusioned and quit the organization soon thereafter. Garrison publicly apologized for being a part of the society.
Oh, and Lloyd, I wondered if you heard anything about the American Colonization Society. I know you've been watching them. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
A few years later, Garrison returned to New England and published his own newspaper, The Liberator. Few copies circulated, but as the issue of slavery grew, more and more people began reading The Liberator and demanding for immediate emancipation. Eventually, The Liberator was read by thousands of readers, spreading radical ideas of abolition. The next year, Garrison founded the New England Anti-Slavery Society, and in 1832 helped to found the American Anti-Slavery Society. He believed it should not affiliate itself with any political party and that women should also be allowed to participate equally. Here he was influenced by women such as Susan Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, as well as many other feminists. Garrison was also a friend of Abby Kelly Foster, a feminist from Worcester.
I'm so excited to finally meet you, Mr. Garrison. It inspired me to join the abolitionist movement. I love your paper, The Liberator. It's just full of radical ideas.
In 1844, Garrison burned a copy of the Constitution because it was being used to argue for slavery, instead of insisting on equality for all men. Upon burning it, he called it a covenant with death and an agreement with hell.
Citizens of the United States of America, on this day, the 4th of July, this Constitution, what does it mean? It marks up the birth of our nation, our commitment to equality for all, does it not? But in fact, this document is being used for the exact opposite. It is being used to enslave our mothers, to keep the enslaved from ever liberating themselves. So I say, this document is for nothing, if we do not use it for the good of all. Is it nothing more than a covenant with it is nothing more than a covenant with death and an agreement with hell.
After the Civil War, all slaves were emancipated and Garrison had finally reached his goal. On December 29, 1865, Garrison published his last issue of The Liberator. In his later years, he continued advocating for women's rights and alcohol temperance. In 1876, his wife died of pneumonia. Garrison was deeply saddened by his loss and never fully recovered. 3 years later, in 1879, Garrison died of kidney disease, surrounded by his children. Many abolitionists attended his funeral, including Frederick Douglass.
Get a serious look on your face.
It is with great sadness that I, Frederick Douglass, come here to stand before you today, May 28, 1879, at William Lloyd Garrison's funeral. Although I am used to making speeches, it is never a happy occasion for me to read a eulogy. A radical abolitionist, Lloyd would often write to me about his wishes of all men being free. There is no man that has not heard of his paper, The Liberator, and of his radical ideas of the immediate emancipation of slaves. Through his courage and power of pen, all slaves are now free in this country, and so ends the life of William Lloyd Garrison. It was the glory of this man that he could stand alone with the truth and calmly await the results.